21st century is 40 years old today. For it was on April 9th of 1971, as a young child involved in DARPA's Project Pegasus, that I performed my first revolutionary act to end the time travel government. It is my privilege to accept Michael Austin Melton's invitation to speak at the Free Your Mind conference here today and describe how and why my truth campaign about time travel began, and do so in the city where liberty was born. 40 years ago, I found myself at the Curtiss Wright Aeronautical Company facility in Woodbridge, New Jersey, which was a sprawling aerospace assembly facility of that time. And in Building 68, there was a teleporter based on Tesla technology that we were using to reach the state capitol grounds in Santa Fe, New Mexico in several seconds. The teleporter consisted basically of two elliptical-shaped objects on the floor of one of the rooms there in Building 68. When the device was turned on, it broadcast a shimmering curtain of radiant energy, and that Nikola Tesla had both discovered. It's an energy that is latent and pervasive in our universe, suggesting that literally the physical substrates of the time-space continuum are permeable, and that now that Tesla, even going back 100 years ago, developed a way to tap this energy, that gives humanity essentially unlimited access to the time-space continuum, the capacity not just to travel in space and understand what's going on in space when we're there, but literally the opportunity to travel in time-space and visit any part of the universe at any time. And so we would lead through this curtain of radiant energy, and a portal tunnel would open up. It resembled the tunnel that people report in the near-death experience, but I think it's fair to say that it was more turbulent. If we looked to our right or left, we could see holographic images of intervening events in the time-space continuum going on. And we would be in that tunnel for several seconds. We would then suddenly see a little point of light in the distance, and that light would close on us very quickly, and we would then be relocated in the time-space continuum where the tunnel closed. The location at which they were usually closing the tunnel and teleporting us somewhere was the state capitol grounds in Santa Fe, New Mexico. I once asked my father, Raymond Basiago, who was a special projects engineer employed by the Ralph M. Parsons Company, why we were going to Santa Fe via teleportation, if so often we would then drive to the Los Alamos National Labs in Los Alamos, New Mexico, or the Sandia National Labs adjacent to the Kirtland Air Force Base outside of Albuquerque. And he said because somebody at the labs, namely the Los Alamos Labs, might see something. And so think of the Cold War context of this. We had not only developed operational time travel, namely teleportation, by 1970, but we were literally hiding it from the Soviet spies that were believed to be in the Los Alamos National Labs. And so, on this particular day, April 9, 1971, literally 40 years ago today, I had decided for a number of reasons that I'll describe today to essentially begin sabotaging the project, that is, sabotaging the secrecy regime that existed that surrounded the project and prevented the advent of time travel from being understood by humanity at large. At Curtiss Wright, I took that morning that we were planning to, teleport to Santa Fe, as we had probably about 20 or 30 times at that point. I took out a small pad of paper and I wrote, "I teleported here from Curtiss Wright in Woodbridge, New Jersey on April 9th, 1971, and I signed my name." Then a few minutes later, we jumped through the device. I found myself popping into view in the state capitol grounds there, thankfully uninjured. And I ran into the Baton Memorial Building. The Baton Memorial Building, if you ever have the delight of going to Santa Fe, I urge you to visit the state capitol complex. It's a very beautiful post-1966 state capitol, the rotunda there, the roundhouse. But the Baton Memorial Building was the pre-1966 state capitol building. It has a distinctive bell tower atop it, which was our visual landmark, hallmark, whenever we teleport to Santa Fe, that we would use to get to the collection area, which was the plaza in front of the Baton Memorial Building. I ran into the building to a location on the second or third floor where on a previous teleporting to Santa Fe, I had noticed that there was a public telephone listing out of the wall, kind of a brass box, or basically the metallic housing of the telephone in the wall there inside one of the hallways of the Baton Memorial Building. And the public had been throwing, I guess, their old phone numbers and fortunes or whatever else, kind of a public wishing well there for them. Well, I could see little scraps of paper back there. And so I threw my note in there, hoping that someday it would be discovered and that I would achieve a little bit of a victory in terms of overcoming the secrecy on the project. I was 9 years old. Just to give you some historical perspective, 2 weeks later, a 26-year-old Navy lieutenant named John F. Kerry would give his historic testimony before the Senate Foreign Relations Committee describing atrocities committed by U.S. forces in Vietnam. And I kind of think that in a related way, I was doing my part to make America's military policies consistent with our highest ideals as a nation. Because in this particular lecture, I'd like to focus on the things that were done to deprive us of our civil liberties at the very time that we were serving the United States government in the emergence of time travel as small children. Now, what was Project Pegasus and why at age 9 had I already begun my campaign to reveal publicly the time travel cover-up, which I've now been involved in earnest for about a decade at midlife. Project Pegasus was the U.S. time-space program at the time of its emergence. I like to think of it as the real Philadelphia experiment, the secret U.S. government project for which various disinformational ploys have been crafted, and we've all seen them in feature films and on television and in books and so forth, giving the American people and the people of the world a false view of the time travel devices that have actually been developed. It's fun.